I'm your host, Taylor Engle, coming to you from Idaho today. And today we have a very special guest. Julia Jacobson is the CEO of Aster Farms, a sustainable cannabis company based in Northern California. Born from 3 generations of cannabis knowledge, she founded the brand after cannabis helped her fight a decades-long battle with chronic migraines. Since then, she's successfully taken Aster Farms to a national level and continues to mentor young entrepreneurs and utilize her experience in the industry to innovate and expand. Julia, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you let us know where you're coming from?
Well, thank you for having me. I am in Oakland today, and it's finally sunny, beautiful skies after an atmospheric river.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I'm up in Idaho for the holidays and it is gloomy and cold, so I'm very envious. All right, well, just to kind of get us started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Aster Farms and just how you got your start in the industry?
Absolutely. So my husband and I started the company together, and we're both conscious consumers. We care about what we put in our body. We care about the companies that we spend our money on. And we really wanted to see that translated into the cannabis industry. At the same time, we are also somewhat mainstream in terms of our aesthetics. We're looking for something that has a little bit more edge to it, a little bit more urban sophistication. And so when we were understanding how the legal cannabis market was developing and the types of brands that were emerging, we didn't see that brand that appealed to us. The kind of brand that you'd see at Whole Foods with very modern branding, but at the same time, all the wholesome ingredients from generations of knowledge and proper agricultural practices. So we wanted to put that out in the market. My husband, Sam, his family has been growing cannabis in ground and living soil, the same techniques that we use, for over 50 years now. In fact, his grandfather was the first person to go to prison for growing weed in Mendocino. So we are continuing on that family legacy and using the knowledge of caring for the craft of growing cannabis, caring for the environment, and caring for the consumers that we're producing this product for.
Wow. Amazing. So it definitely sounds like both of you have a good amount of experience in the legacy industry. So sort of what has the process been like transitioning from, kind of having to hide what you're doing or, be really careful regarding regulations to today where you're in a fully legal market in California?
Well, we have actually kept the family business and our legal operation as 2 completely separate things. Sam and I actually come from a career background in branding. Sam was an executive producer, and I have a career history in both retail merchandising as well as technology. So we were the non-cannabis folks in that generation, or I guess Sam was, but we have been consumers and lovers of it. And, Sam has grown up around the legacy operations. And so for us, we wanted to kind of meld the 2 worlds.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. It's where passion meets purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. Well, can you maybe tell us a little bit about some current projects you're working on, or what's got you excited about the industry right now?
So what we're most excited about are the collaborations we're doing. We choose other brands and operators who care about craft and artisanal ingredients, who care about the actual flower that's going into their product, the way it was grown, the companies behind it. And we partner up with brands like that in categories that we don't actually produce ourselves. So for example, we've done 2 collaborations with Rose Los Angeles to produce the Rose Delights. We have done a forever collaboration now with Potly for an extra virgin organic olive oil that will be back on the shelves shortly and for forever. And we have also recently launched a collaboration with Artet, the infused cannabis beverage. And it is the first single strain live resin infused beverage on the market. And it's absolutely delicious. It has a lot of flavor to it. And I think, again, when we choose these collaboration partners, we're looking to people who care about all of the ingredients and the artisanal craft behind it. And that really expresses itself in the flavor, the taste, all of the profiles of the product that you're consuming.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, Julia, we're going to move into the 10-minute flash question section now. So I've got 10 cannabis related questions ready for you, and you'll have 60 seconds to answer each one.
Okay, let's go.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So first one, what is one cannabis product you cannot live without and why?
Definitely my grinder, because I consume enough cannabis and I'm a flower person and I'm a flower from full flower person.
Yeah.
So that's an important step in the process. And without it, my hands would just be consistently covered in hash, and we just don't need that. So
No, nobody
my
needs
sharp stone.
Very nice, very practical. All right. So you did mention, that you have a lot of experience, both you and your husband, with branding and retail. So, what is your advice for someone in the cannabis industry in regards to marketing their brand?
I think what we're seeing right at this exact moment is that retailers in the cannabis space are beginning to mature in ways that the traditional retail space has operated for years. For example, the concept of having a shop in shop, so a custom installation or build out or display by a brand in a retail shop, that's now becoming to really be a thing in the cannabis industry. And I think that's where a lot of our marketing attention is going to be focused, because we're very limited when it comes to our digital capacities.
Right. Okay. All right. Thoughts on cannabis during work hours?
I personally consume cannabis during work hours, but I also believe that there really is a fine line between whether or not you are somebody who is using it medicinally, whether it's for chronic pain, anxiety. It needs to be done in a way where you're still able to get the task done, and get the task done at the professional and competency level that is required of your position. So, I'm all about consuming at any time that you need to consume, morning, day, or night, but and at work or not at work, so long as it does not impair your ability to really kick butt.
Right. Yeah.
And let me put it, we have a farm team, so let me put a clause in there. It is not okay to consume cannabis when you are operating any kind of machinery, whether it's a tractor or large machines where somebody could get hurt. So that's definitely a no-no if your job involves those functions.
Yeah. Very, very important disclaimer. All right. What about when you did start working in the cannabis industry? What was the most surprising thing to you?
I think, the most surprising thing to me was the disconnect between what policymakers are saying and the actual regulations that are enacted. And I knew that there would always be a tension there, but I thought that the industry, at least in California, in the way that it was not built around limited license state, was being built to be supportive of the growth of this industry in the appropriate and proper ways that it needed to grow. And as you've seen recently with California increasing the cultivation tax at a time when, yes, inflation is rising, but cannabis prices have plummeted to a level that the industry is, just barely hanging on to. So I think that there's a disconnect there, and the expanse of that disconnect is much more than I had expected it to be.
Yeah. I feel a lot of people seem to have the same sentiment recently. What about the first advice you would give to somebody who has never tried cannabis before?
Oh, well, definitely, I would say, and this is going to sound really counterproductive to what most people advise, but I would say start with either flower or a vape. So smoking a pre-roll, because you're able to actually dose yourself and control how much and what your experience is when you're consuming flower, because the way it's entering your body is hitting you and you're feeling the effects almost, not instantly, but within a few minutes or a certain, not a few seconds, a minute or so.
Right.
Whereas with an edible, you could be waiting, even though it seems like the safest entry point into testing cannabis, you could be waiting 45 minutes and not be sure if you're feeling the effects or realize you're feeling them way too strong. And while most cannabis brands who are legally on the market have gotten their dosing pretty under control, there's still outliers there. I mean, the same way that there are still 30% outliers in potency and actual flower. So at least with a pre-roll or a vape, you're able to take one hit, stop, wait a short period of time, and really assess how you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Think even the most experienced consumer has had that nightmare edible experience.
Exactly.
All right. What about the first thing you would tell to somebody who wants to work in the industry but hasn't gotten their start yet?
I think the most important thing to remember is to not try to reinvent yourself. There are already unbelievable cultivators in this space. What the industry needs, for example, are marketing professionals. We need people in financial planning and accounting. We need people in areas where expertise already exists in traditional industries and just needs to be applied to cannabis. So if you're in the FP&A world, just learn about 280E, learn about the IRS and accounting restrictions on cannabis, and we need you. So I would say, just taking the skills that you already have today and applying them rather than reinventing yourself is the right way to enter this industry.
Yeah. Nice. All right. What about as far as cannabis media goes? Do you have a favorite blog, podcast, influencer, YouTube channel, anything like that?
Oh, geez, of course I do. Well, I am a huge fan of, and I will put them on equal levels, Miss Grass, Gossamer, and Broccoli. Big fan there. I would say that Oyster Girl, Lindsay Meharry, Jackie Bryant, Dante, and Jordan Rocks are my favorite influencers. And Laganja Estranja,
Oh,
obviously.
yes.
And then, a big fan of some of the chefs that are getting involved in the cannabis infused space. So yeah, I love all the cannabis people. They're wonderful.
Yeah. Influencers in every section of it. All right. What about your personal cannabis hero? Anyone in the industry today or the past, or even just, a consumer that you really look up to?
Well, I guess, my dad introduced me to cannabis, if you will. He wasn't the first person I actually consumed with, and that's not how I got my weed, but the introduction of the plant and everything that goes with it definitely came from my dad.
Oh, nice.
And he still today, pops his edible before he jumps on the treadmill. He's 84.
Oh, wow.
So, he is an unapologetic lover of weed, and I appreciate that. And so I would say my dad.
Nice. All right. And what about your favorite method of consuming cannabis? You did say flower, but do you roll? Do you pack a bowl? What is your preferred method there?
Joints only. I think there's something in the actual ritual of rolling the joint, and it goes back to my sharpstone. So I think there's something in the ritual of rolling the joint that is, part of the experience for me, and part of that kind of time out and resetting for myself. I'm not one who meditates well, so I would say those slow, small, careful acts are a form of meditation for me.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. And then finally, Julia, to wrap it up, walk us through the first time you ever consumed cannabis.
The first time I consumed was my crazy edible experience, and which is maybe why that's my advice to people. But it was in high school, and some of my best friends smoked, and I didn't and hadn't, but I finally said, okay, fine. If you make it in brownies, I'll eat it and I'll get high. And they had no idea what they were doing. And so they made a whole plate of brownies. And my friend was having one of the biggest parties of the year at high school and at her house. And right before it started, they decided that I should probably eat a few.
Oh, no.
I maybe had 2, maybe 3, but I remember the exact moment it kicked in. And then once I got home after the party, just being at my sink, throwing water at my face, trying to get it in my mouth. So it was certainly not an unenjoyable experience, but not how I intended to enjoy that party.
Definitely an unforgettable one, though.
For sure.
Nice. All right, Julia. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you let everybody know if we want to find you online? How would we do that?
You can follow us on Instagram at Aster Farms, and find us online at aster.com.
All right. Thank you so much. Anyone listening, feel free to give us a review, a like, or share with your followers. And for more bluntness in your life, you can find us on social media or directly at the source, thebluntness.com.